All the details are now about Chapter 3 Season 1's Duo FNCS. They are very confusing, so let me attempt to simplify that and how to strategize across the tournament with the help of Kinch Analytics.
Hello.
So let's jump straight into it. The entire tournament is across 3 weekends. Firstly, there's the qualifiers, which will go from the 17th till the 20th of February, so it's only across 4-day span, and it's only 2 qualifiers in this day. So if you don't make it past qualifiers, this is just going to be a 1 weekend run for you people. Next will come the semifinals, which is on the 24th till the 27th, so it's 3 days of semifinals. And then the 1 week after that, the 5th until the 6th of March, this is when the finals are, and it's just the usual 2 days of finals. Now, if you play in the Middle East region, ignore these dates, it's 1 day before. Qualifiers are split into 3 rounds, not 4, similar to the way the FNCS Season 8 was done. And for the first round, as always, which is what people call the Opens, this is open to Champions League players in Arena, which is 7,500 hype or above, just as it always has been. Round 1 is 10 games with 3 hours, again, similar to any other kind of open cash cup format or FNCS Round 1 that we've seen previously. Round 2 is then 7 games with 2 hours in Qualifier 1, but in Qualifier 2, it's actually the same as it is in Round 1, 10 games, 3 hours. A little bit confusing, but it's all just to do with the way that the times are laid out, because Qualifier 1 is actually on a weekday. Then Round 3 of the Qualifier, which is the last stage of qualifiers, 6 games, 3 hours, it's a set lobby environment. If you want to make it into Round 2 from Round 1, in EU, NA East, NA West, and Brazil, you need to come in the top 400. In Asia, Middle East, and OCE, you need to come in the top 250.
A really common question that people ask is how many total points they actually need to qualify. Now, some things will affect it leading up to and during the round, but an early estimate is around 140 points for EU and 125 for NA East.
Now, if you want to get some more accurate live estimates during the round or in any cash cup, Kinch actually provides this to his community through his Discord using the link in the description below and also in the pinned comment. You can get a 2-week free trial of Kinch Premium, which includes the live estimates, drop maps, and even more cool stuff as well. Going from round 2 to round 3, it's the top 50 in every single region. Then when you're in that qualifier finals, the round 3, you need to get a top 8, and this will actually all qualify you straight through to the finals. So you skip the semifinals if you place top 8 in the round 3 of qualifier 1. Now, if you want to go to the semi-finals, where you place in these qualifiers will give you series points, as always. This will go all the way down till 410th on the leaderboard. So just for simplicity's sake, if you're in kind of the bigger regions, if you make it into the round 2, you're guaranteed to get some form of series points. And the higher you place, the more series points you'll get. At the end of the 2 qualifiers, there'll be a series point leaderboard, which actually is in-game. You can check that right now. If you're in the top 50 of the series leaderboard, you're going to go through and play all 3 sessions of the semi-finals. If you're 51st till 61st, you'll play session 2 and session 3. And if you're in 62nd till 72nd, you'll play only session 3.
My calculations indicate that you'll need somewhere around 500 series points to qualify in the top 50, which equates to around top 25 in a single qualifier or top 70 in both qualifiers. For top 72, it should be in the 400s, which is around top 40 in a single qualifier or top 80 in both.
So semifinals is a little bit different to how it's been previously. Previously, there was a bunch of heats that all kind of went on simultaneously. Now, what's actually happening is that there's 3 sessions, one on the first day, one on the second day, and one on the final day. As I mentioned, for that first session, the top 50 people from the series leaderboard will go straight here, and they will play out 5 matches. The top 6 from this leaderboard will move on straight to the finals. However, there's a bit of a turn here, a bit of a twist. If you pick up one of the 5 victory royales available here, you will auto-qualify through for the finals. So there'll be 5 teams from this session 1 because of victory royales and 6 going through because of the leaderboard. Then those 11 teams will be taken out, and the next 11 from the series leaderboard will be put in, which is the 51 till 62. The next day, the leaderboard's completely reset, and the exact same things happens again. 5 victory royales, top 6 in the leaderboard, 11 teams go through, they're removed, and then session 3, which happens on the final day, another 11 teams will be put in, and then they will play 6 matches rather than 5 for some reason, so that'll actually be 12 teams that go through from here, 6 victory royales, 6 from the top of the leaderboards. So in total, from the qualifiers, there are 16 teams that go through from here, 8 for each qualifier, and then there's 34 teams go through total from the semi-finals. Okay, so the finals. The finals is just a regular 2-day 12-game FNCS finals you've seen many times before. There is 6 games on both days, but there is a little bit of a twist this season. They're calling it a match point format, which isn't really in the traditional sense, but if you're on the second day, a team reaches 500 points with 3 victory royales before the final game ends, then they will be declared the winner and the tournament will end early. Is that going to happen? Probably not. So this is basically has to happen in 11 games or less because the tournament has to end early. So say if you win 11 games with 4 eliminations each, this nets you 484 points, and this still won't be enough to qualify you for match point because you're not at that 500 threshold. If you win 8 games with 10 elims each, then go down off spawn for the remaining 3. That'll net you 496, so still be below the threshold. This is my favorite line from the rules, which states that if someone reaches the 500 point threshold on day 1, then the tournament won't end early. In order for someone to reach that in the first day, by the way, remember there's 6 games on day 1, a team would need to drop 5 20 bombs and then 1 3 elim win. So it's pretty safe to say that the finals will just be a regular 12-game, 2-day event that we've had for the entire of last year. Now, the prize pool is still a little over $3 million, distributed in pretty much the exact same ratios across all of the regions. However, it's a little more top-heavy than it has been previously. The winners on EU getting a nice $150,000 each when they got $100,000 each in trios. And in every region, if you make it to finals, you're going to at least earn something, even if you come dead last. Okay, so you want a shot at earning some of the dollar, so let's break down some of the small efficiencies of how you can actually play this format the best. Let's start off with the first round of the qualifiers, aka what everyone refers to as the opens. Knowing the format is really important to start with. So in round 1 and round 2 of the qualifiers, it's exactly the same as it is in the Cash Cup so far. So if you played any of the Cash Cups, you'll know this format already. 25 points total for a victory royale and 1 point per elimination. So 25 eliminations is equal to a win, so it's very placement heavy. So you basically have to make sure you're playing for placement repeatedly. And it's very top 3 heavy as well, because this is when the top placements start coming through. So consistent victory royales, top seconds, top thirds are really important. When it comes to qualifier round 3, semi-finals and finals, so every other round, they all have the same format as the round 2 of the Cash Cups. So there's 32 placement points total, 3 points per elimination, so it's just under 11 eliminations equals a win. However, the only difference between this is that semi-finals have 1,000 points per win rather than 32, as just this will auto-qualify you through to the finals. I think this is just the way that internally the leaderboards will work. So it doesn't really make a difference. You can kind of ignore this, but if you see it on the leaderboards, it looks really odd just because they've won a single game and auto-qualified through to the finals.
There are 266 placement points to be handed out and only 100 elimination points in a single game. So you should be looking to get good game placements and let the elims flow as a result of that. Most teams get at least twice as many points from placement as they do from eliminations. When it comes to the first game, a lot of people think that you need to start with a high elimination win because that's what they see the pros do. In reality, only 22% of qualifying teams will actually win their first game. And when you look at getting 20 bombs in game 1, well, only 13% of teams who end up qualifying will actually start with a 20 bomb. So the thought process of W-keying the low ELO lobby is certainly outdated. It's absolutely not necessary. Just aim to have a good game. In fact, on average, 36% of qualifying teams will get less than 10 points in their first game, so don't worry at all if you have a bad start. Leading on from the fact that you should focus mainly on placement, your ability to survive off spawn will be extremely important. The qualifying teams survive off spawn around 90% of their games and reach the end game in 70% of them.
This means that you have to have all of the fundamentals of your early game nailed. Know your drop spot, ensure you've made a drop spot map and you have it practiced, know your looting paths and how to win against enemy contesting teams. Now, if you died a lot early on, you failed in your early game strategy and you don't have many games left, then you can consider taking a short break to reset your mentality and get a slightly easier lobby, because the good players will have gone to a slightly higher elo and you'll face worse players. The players at 80 points 1 hour in are significantly better than the players at 80 points 2.5 hours in. So remember, you can only play 1 successful game every half hour when accounting for queue times, so if you have 3 games left and more than an hour of queue time remaining, then you can wait until the 1 hour mark, and likewise with 4 games left, 1.5 hours left, and so on.
The last hour, and especially the last game of your round, will be the most important, as there is no time to recover if you do badly. Around 18% of the qualifying teams will win their final game, so if you aren't in qualification range, don't let it ruin your mentality. Just play for the win in the final game and clutch up the qual. Once there are less than 25 minutes left to queue, you know you won't be able to finish a full game and queue into another. There just isn't time for 2 games. So in this instance, you can play that second last game more aggressively, since you can rack up more elimination points, and if you die you can still get into the final game. If you're still alive in the last 10 minutes and you have good loot, then you should consider staying in the game. Many teams qualify by doing this and getting enough points without going into a final queue. However, you must remember that sometimes final game queues can exceed 5 minutes, so you have to leave yourself enough time to queue. In later rounds, you should actually give around 7 minutes to be certain.
Now, when looking at round 2, this can be played very similarly to round 1, with good consistent placements being the general strategy to go to. Although round 1 games can sometimes be stacked and have storm surge, you'll find that almost every single game in round 2 will be like that. The amount of surge you'll need will vary a lot from game to game, so The general advice is to try and get at least 300, 500, and 700 damage for the 3 Storm Surge thresholds, and if this wasn't sufficient, up this for the following games. The round 3 is just a set lobby, so there really isn't any magic to how to play this format outside of just doing as well as you can in all 6 games and aiming for top 8 in the leaderboard. It's not rocket science. Just remember that every placement, the higher you place in the leaderboards, is more series points too, which in this format is really crucial. So even if you aren't getting close to a top 8 to auto qualify for the finals, it's really important to not give up early, as the series points are really important this season, and you can only get these in 2 qualifiers, so you only have 2 shots. Now, when it comes to the semi-finals, there's this kind of quirky victory royale will auto-qualify you through to the finals aspect of it, but also if you come top 6 on the leaderboard, you can qualify. So there's kind of 2 different paths you can walk to take yourself to the finals. So either you can basically psycho height every game and try to win that game, or you can just play out low to mid and aim for those consistent leaderboard points. You must be careful when it comes to the last few games in each session, however, as the players at the bottom of the leaderboard are just going to get more desperate and try to take height in increasingly aggressive ways. Due to this, I'd recommend taking height in the 3rd or final moving zones, the 8th and 9th zones. This is basically the timing that we see teams take height in the majority of reboot round style games. If you take it earlier in this, people are just going to disrupt you and make psycho plays for it, and you're probably just going to throw your whole game. If you're down on the bottom of the leaderboard, might as well go for it. Try and win the game like this. Or like I already mentioned, if you're going for that top 6 on the leaderboard without the victory royale, play that low to mid ground playstyle, be consistent. The finals, where all the prize money is, well, you just have to do well across 2 games. There's no quirky format outside of the match point, and I don't think that will ever get touched, at least in the bigger regions anyway. So if this is your first time in a finals lobby, congratulations on your earnings. The biggest takeaway I can give that a lot of the pro players say is just to play every single match as it comes. If you do bad in one match, it doesn't matter. There's always a huge potential to clutch up in the next game, in the next game, and in the next game, even on the next day if you have a horrible day number 1. If you're in a finals, every threshold almost is more earnings. So don't get discouraged if you're not winning, if you're not in the top 10. Even if you're at the bottom of the leaderboard after day 1, you can have huge day 2 and clutch up big time. Every game matters. Please subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Thank you very much for Kinch for bringing all of the statistics for this, for being part of the video, and for providing the community with such a sick service. Remember, there's a link down below to Kinch Premium and his Discord. Go check that out. Peace.